And I think all of us should go into the future and just know that if we can go into the future, we're going to be much wiser. We're going to have battle scars. We're going to have ups and downs. There's going to be things that happen. When we pursue something meaningful, life happens.
In life, there are always going to be hard times and tough situations. For me, it's what built everything, those difficult tests that I had, because they have a silver lining. When you get delivered a test like that, you have the opportunity to grow, to be able to overcome it. Well, today I sit down with host of the School of Greatness and New York Times bestselling author, Lewis Howes, to talk exactly how you can grow through pain and specific tips. So take out your notepads, take out your pens and paper, and let's get writing, because some of this is valuable information. Today's video, as always, was made possible at Mulliganbrothers.com, where you can get the Not a Journal success journals that actually lead to success, and the Memento Mori posters that remind you you're gonna die, to help you get ready for 2024, and also support the Inspire Change movement if you want to, with the t-shirts and hoodies linked down below. But before that, how do we turn those hard and difficult moments in our lives into the success that we know we are capable of? Let's dive into the video. How important is it to have goals, even if you don't achieve them?
Well, here's the thing. Something, about 4 or 5 years ago, I was going through like a challenging breakup. Maybe 6 years ago, 4 or 5, 6 years ago, I was going through a challenging breakup. And I remember I was kind of like, it wasn't a good breakup. There was like bad things said about me online, and I was kind of like questioning, like, oh, I thought these guys were my friends and they're talking bad about me, and it was kind of like, why is this happening? I was feeling a lot of overwhelm and pressure, sadness, loss, and anger. I was like, why is this happening? And I remember I was interviewing a friend of mine at the time, someone I just met named Robin Sharma, who wrote the book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. I don't know if you've seen this book or no. Yeah, you've heard of it, yeah. And I'm meeting him for the first time, and this just happened maybe a couple weeks before, and I'm like going through this kind of sad moment, and I was like, why is this happening? This is frustrating. And he said to me, a bad day for the ego is a great day for the soul. And I said, that's interesting. And he goes, just think about all the different pain you've had in your past. And he was telling me some of the stuff that he'd been through, and he's like, all these things that happened in your past, from the injury in football to being sexually abused, to my brother going to prison, to not having friends in middle school, and all the different challenges, they all made you a better person today. Like, the things you learned from those challenges has given you the purpose, the drive to care about people deeper, to want to serve people, to want to lift others up. If you didn't go through those experiences, you wouldn't have the heart and the mindset you have now. And something clicked in me in that moment. As he was telling me this, I go, you know what? We need to start connecting the dots forward. Like you said with the Steve Jobs quote, I think we can connect the dots forward. And people always say hindsight is 20/20, but what we need to start doing is having future hindsight and going into the future 10 years to our future self, and start reflecting back on why this is happening now, and start writing the story from the future of the now. If we can see the story, how it unfolded of the past, why can't we go into the future? Why can't you go 10 years into the future when you're 40 and say, you know what? The reason why all these people said that I shouldn't be in the film industry and all these different things, and saying being a YouTuber and all this stuff, like, here's why it needed to happen this way. And as your 40-year-old self, imagining all the things you've created up until that moment, and the things that you had to overcome, the lessons it gave you, the skill sets that you have that no one else has, because of the adversity, because of the pain, because of the loss. I'm not saying it's fun. I'm not saying you wish it would happen. I'm not saying you wish it wouldn't have turned out differently. I'm not saying I wish I would have been sexually abused again. I'm not saying I wish my brother went to prison. I'm not saying I wish I was a second grade reading level in 8th grade and was picked on and made fun of. That was not fun. But I do know the person I am today because I chose to be empowered and overcome those things. And I do know that I would not care about human beings as much if I didn't have those adversities. I would not care about impacting lives. I'd be more obsessed with me and wanting to look good. I wouldn't care about what you feel about and how I can serve you. And that has given me more fulfillment today, and will give me more fulfillment the rest of my life, living in service rather than trying to live in success. Without those challenges and adversities, I wouldn't have that belief and that mindset. And I loved the story that I had Matthew McConaughey on twice, and I asked him this question because I loved his acceptance speech from the Oscars, I think it was, when he said, "I'm chasing my hero who's 10 years away." And I asked him this question, I go, what is your 10-year self in the future giving yourself advice on now, knowing all the adversities and ups and downs you're gonna go through for the next 10 years? And he reflected on it, and he was like talking about these experiences. And I think all of us should go into the future and just know that if we can go into the future, we're gonna be much wiser. We're gonna have battle scars, we're gonna have ups and downs, there's gonna be things that happen. When we pursue something meaningful, life happens. And unexpected things happen, both beautiful and challenging. And so if you could go into your future self, knowing what the last 10 years were and where you are now from 10 years ago, when you were 20 and what you were going through and all the pain you went through that gave you skills and experience now. As painful as these things happen to you, you may not take some of these things back because of what you've gained from it. You may not want it to happen, and it's very sad, but you also know I've made something great from the pain, from the adversity, as unfortunate and sad and horrible as some things can be in the world. And I'm not saying life is supposed to be this easy experience, but it can be fulfilling and meaningful if we find the meaning in the pain. And you know, man's search for meaning, Viktor Frankl talks about between stimulus and response is a pause. And it's finding that meaning, that interpretation between events, between experiences, no matter how painful or beautiful they are. How do we find meaning and interpret them so that it benefits us, it doesn't hurt us? And he saw incredible pain. Thousands of people dying around him, family members, friends. And he was able to find peace and harmony and forgiveness. And I'm not saying he wishes it would happen again, but he gained a lot of value from that pain because he created new meaning around it. And I think that's what we got to do, is start connecting the dots in the future to where we are now, as opposed to looking back, and start building our own meaning for that future.
I love that. I mean, that's some mental task. That's some mental task. I think, I mean, I've got a lot of work to do. Like when I think about that, I love the idea of literally putting yourself in that headspace. I think opening up the mindset or the thought process of when things are difficult, things are hurting you, things are feeling bad, to have the mindset of where's the growth here?
How is this going to serve me?
How's it going to serve you? And I agree with you. I wouldn't change anything that had happened to me. I wouldn't, which is very difficult because to say that, because I remember after Jacob died, a doctor came into the hospital and he was like, a pastor came into the hospital, and he said to me, I wasn't ready to hear it. He said something along the lines of, God has his reasons, God has it.
And you're like, screw God.
Yeah, exactly that. For me, and then I would say the next 3 or 4 years, I was like, I can see what the catalyst, I can see what this has caused me to do. Like, I want to try and help people. I don't want people to feel this pain, and
yes.
I want people to be able to go through these situations with guidance. But it still felt cruel to me. It still very much,
100%.
Yes, it felt super cruel. Like, well, I couldn't, if God's, could do this, why couldn't he give me this without taking this from me? It's the way of the world. It doesn't work like that,
You also wouldn't have the spiritual gifts that you have without that pain. You wouldn't have the drive to change lives the way you do.
It has to happen. It's horrible to say. It's horrible to say. It has to happen.
It's unfortunate.
It's shit. Yeah.
It's extremely unfortunate.
Yeah. But yeah, and now, like, facing situations now, just with the perspective you've just said about the 40-year self, there's a huge comfort for me, as you've said that, in the idea of giving myself 10 years. Because I know time heals. Like I know that time, you know, time eventually I will be in a good place and I will be healed from something. And when I think of specific situations now that might pain me or hurt me, I give myself 10 years, I'm like, well, that's, you know, I'm easy, like I'm good, there will be growth there, and I can think of it more objectively.
And where you, when you were 20 or 19 and you were playing basketball and you know, broke your ankle or dislocated it and you were like, oh, why is this happening to me? But if you would have been a successful basketball player and played for 5 or 6 years, you wouldn't be doing this. You wouldn't be impacting the lives you're making an impact on, you know, hundreds of millions of views and reach and billions of impact, you know, whatever it is. You're serving people to overcome challenges and pain and give them inspiration and storytelling and hope and make them feel something inside that they are capable of doing themselves based on the work you're doing now. And maybe you could have done that as a basketball player, but probably not at this level. Probably not.
No.
Right? You could have had a lot of fun and, you know, accomplished your goals and inspired the people who are watching in the arena and the people around you, but then you wouldn't have gotten the head start on this journey if you would have played for another 5 or 6 years.
Approached by somebody who's in the moment of pain, how do you, or maybe a year or two after, you know, that pain, but it's still lingering, how do you tell them to have faith?
Well, I mean, if someone's in the middle of pain, I don't know if I would tell them like, it's all going to be okay right away. For me, I think I probably did that in the past. And I would just more sit with people and say, I'm really sorry you're going through this. You know, this is really unfortunate, really sad. I would embrace the feelings that they're having right now and allow them to feel it. Because I think a lot of us sometimes create a spiritual bypass or an emotional bypass, and they just try to not feel their emotions or not process and not allow them to grieve for a period of time. And they just go right on to the next thing. And I don't think that's healthy. I think when you feel sadness, experience it. When you have a loss, grieve it. When you know, feel pain, allow yourself to feel it. We get stuck in those emotions when we lack a meaningful mission. When we don't have a drive, a purpose, a vision we're working towards, then we feel lost. We feel, why is this happening? We feel like, why did this happen to me? Why now? What am I supposed to do? What's the purpose of my life? We go back to these questions of why me? What's my purpose? And we lack clarity. That's why one of the first things I talk about in kind of my book and in my process is getting clear on your meaningful mission for this season of life. And when we go through a loss of an injury or a dream, and you can't do that thing anymore, we've got to grieve that loss and then reevaluate in a new season of life. Okay, I'm going to try new things to discover what that mission is. And maybe I'm not going to know. Maybe for 3 to 6 months, I'm not going to know what my mission is, and that's okay, but I'm going to explore things that I'm curious about. When we were a kid, you know, you probably played a bunch of sports growing up, and like most kids do, and parents will put us in piano lessons and guitar and singing class and sports and activities. They allow us to explore and try things. They usually don't keep us in something if we suck at it, right? Unless they're, I don't know, crazy and they want us to be great at that thing. But they usually try to say, okay, we tried these 7 things. They're really good at these 2 or 3. Let's develop them in that. And I think as adults, we forget to try new things, a lot of things that we might be interested in, because we feel like if we're not good, we fail. But as kids, we fail all the time and we just move towards a thing that we're more interested in. And allow yourself that season when you lose a dream, when you lose a job, when you lose a relationship and it's gone, to try and explore new things until you develop that meaningful mission.
Thank you to everybody who has watched this video and supported this channel. And if you have not already, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Only 10% of you guys are so far, and I want to really get that up to 15% by the end of 2024. All of this was made possible, being able to go and interview Lewis and fly around the world and all our future projects by your support at Mulliganbrothers.com. You can get the Not a Journal Success Journal and the Memento Mori posters linked there in the description. Get ready for 2024, and also the Inspire Change t-shirts. I want to say a massive thank you to everybody. I know we do a lot of these videos, and sometimes I might skate over the fact that we are massively, massively appreciative of the support that you have given us. And 2024 has been our biggest investment into content ever. So we have our best guests returning, but we also have some new projects on the way that I think are going to blow your mind. So please subscribe, hit the notification bell, come say hello on Instagram, all that kind of good stuff. And have a blessed and productive day. Go inspire some change, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.